everyone, welcome to the third chapter of Changeling. I was pretty sure I was daydreaming, but it was cold and pitch black. There was no sound, no sensation. I tried to move, but it was as if the darkness was weighing me down. I tried to scream, but there was nothing. I couldn't hear the sound of my own voice. I couldn't even feel myself screaming. As I waited for any sign, any sound, or hint of light, I slowly became aware of the fact that I was running. The slow tingle of sensation began to creep back. My feet were crashing through what felt like underbrush, the cold prickle of wet pine needles shouting to me as I ran. I have to find what? I didn't know. Inwardly, I screamed at myself to stop running. No, not yet, not yet. It was my voice speaking, but it wasn't me. I sounded raspy and weird, and I didn't even know what I had meant by that. Finally, I came to a halt. My hand reached out to steady myself against something. I felt scratchy bark against my skin. The moment I touched it, reality came crashing back. Or rather, it felt like I went crashing from nothingness back into reality. I expected to wake up in my bed in a cold sweat, but when I came to, I was standing up. I wasn't even in my room, much less in my bed. I was in the middle of the woods, surrounded by trees on all sides. Panic rose in my throat. Did I do it again? That strange sensation of crashing back into reality was both eerily familiar and terrifyingly nostalgic. I had felt it before. How long have I been gone this time? My heart was thudding uncomfortably as I looked around and listened for search parties. It was probably stupid to immediately assume I'd been missing for weeks already, but it's not like it would have been unprecedented. There was only silence. I wasn't sure whether I should have been relieved or not, but at the very least, I must not have been gone long. But now what? It was dark but cloudless. I was in a bit of a clearing, so the moon lit up my surroundings pretty well. I turned, trying to get my bearings. To my great relief, I saw the warm glow of lights through the trees only a short distance away. Was I just sleepwalking? Or something? That had never happened before, especially not to the point that I ended up outside. I took a deep breath and started making my way back towards the lights. It was freezing, and before I stopped to contemplate any major questions about the current situation, I needed to get back home. I would worry about the sudden sleepwalking problem after that. Something in the distance let out a long howl. A shiver crawled up my spine as I looked anxiously over my shoulder. Coyote, maybe? It was a ways off, but still too close for comfort. I carefully picked my way through a little gully, wincing as I found a blackberry vine I hadn't been looking for. Ow, ow, ow! It managed to wrap itself around both legs in no time. Thorn jabbed at my fingers as I tried to pry it off in the dark. The sudden crackle of underbrush off to one side immediately put my heart in my throat again. What was that? I strained to see into the shadows. It might have just been a deer, but this area did apparently have black bears, not to mention things like cougars. Everything went silent again. I was thinking of maybe making a break for the lights. They were maybe 40 yards away and up a little hill. I could make it. Suddenly, a shadow moved. I tried to make out the shape, but it was deep in the trees, beyond the moonlight. To my relief, it looked like it was moving away from me. But when it suddenly broke into a run, what? I was almost certain I'd glimpsed something person-shaped. Someone else was out here too, but who? And were they watching me? I didn't stick around to find out who that was. I yanked myself away from the blackberries and broke into a staggering run towards the lights. My feet were going to be a mess, but if the rest of me was safe, that's all that mattered. I could leave without feet. I didn't know where the shadow went. It was gone in no time, and surprisingly, they had shoes, I assumed. I didn't. In the woods, barefoot running was more like frantic, pain-filled hopping. But in a few minutes, I broke through the trees and found myself not far from my house. The lights I'd seen through the trees were from Elliot's back porch. Thank goodness. The back gate had been left wide open. I must have come out through there. From the looks of it, I was right. I hadn't been gone long. The lights were still off inside. Fortunately, I woke up before I got too far away. I let myself back into the yard, quietly creeping to the house and into the partially open back door. It was so weird knowing I had to have come this way, but I didn't remember any of it. It wasn't like it was unusual for me, but I just couldn't afford to start this stuff up again. As I was shutting the door, I heard the sound of soft movement behind me. I sprang round, startled. Spencer was there at the bottom of the stairs. I could barely make his face out in the dim light from over the stove. What are you doing? I stepped out for some air. Couldn't sleep. I wasn't about to tell him I'd gone for a little sleepwalk in the woods at night. I padded across the kitchen and tried to get up the stairs, but Spencer blocked my way. That's all you were doing? Yeah, that's it. Can you let me go to my room? I'm freezing. Wait a second. I've been doing the creepy sleepwalker thing, and had to do some serious thinking about that, but what are you doing up? I heard you coming in. I thought it might be a burglar. Ah, well, it's not. Just me. Since I live here, could you please move? It didn't look like he wanted to, but he finally stepped aside and let me pass. It wasn't until I shut the door to my room that I realized Spencer had been fully dressed and wearing shoes. Why was he fully dressed? If he got up when he heard me come in? Then again, maybe he'd thrown his clothes on when he thought he heard someone downstairs. No one wanted to confront a potential thief in a t-shirt and boxers, I assumed, but I was way too tired to dwell on that, and before I could go back to sleep, I had to pick the thorns out of my feet, then disinfect the numerous cuts and scrapes that occupied me for far longer than I would have liked. When I finally fell into bed, I didn't have any more answers about why I'd been outside than I did when I first woke up out there, and I wasn't sure if there was anyone I could tell about it. Not without kicking up a fuss, and I really, really didn't want that. Before bed last night, and before my night escapades in the woods, Ellie and I had texted quite a bit about my last and exemplary first day at school. She had casually informed me that she would be driving me there and back for the foreseeable future, or at least until I got my own car. Fortunately, she lived in the same neighborhood, so it wouldn't really be an inconvenience for her to stop by. The only drawback was that she usually had to arrive early because she'd extra credit work in the office. It was mostly just filling and such, but it meant she had to be there quite a bit before class started, which meant I would have to loiter around school with nothing to do for a little over half an hour. Oh my god! Oh my god, what will I ever do for more than half an hour? I wasn't going to complain though, could have been worse. I had to admit that I was kind of annoyed Spencer basically won. He wouldn't have to drive me to school or put up with being anywhere near me anymore. But then Dad informed us that Spencer had lost car privileges for the next month. Dad would pick him up after school and drive him to the showroom for work, and the poor guy would have to catch the bus every morning. To add insult to injury, the car would sit unused the entire time since I'd be riding with Allie. She's not even going to be using it! Too bad. You left her at school. On purpose. I don't think you deserve to drive the car. I'm already going to be working for you for a month and doing all her chores. I get it, I'm sorry, I just had a bad day. That's not an excuse to leave your sister crying in the parking lot. They already at it when I went downstairs. I tried to ignore the fight as I ate breakfast. It wasn't easy, especially with the look Spencer kept giving me. He could not expect me to feel sorry for him. There was absolutely no way I would feel sorry for him. I mean, he was my brother, and he was already being punished. I tried to ignore the part of me that wanted to defend him. I mean, the punishment was kind of harsh, but to be honest, I kind of loved it. Yeah, sue me. He deserved it this time. Maybe it would shake him up enough that he'd deal with his issues and start treating me like a fellow human being again. If he wanted to be mad at me forever, fine, but maybe now he wouldn't go out of his way to be mean to me. Or, hey, he could maybe even try to work things out like a normal person. Besides, I'd had a bad day too, and a sizable portion of my bad day was because of him. I was just rinsing my breakfast dishes when I heard Allie honking. Moments later, I ran out the door, still trying to pull on my jacket. So, I was thinking, a dangerous pastime. I'm not playing. Oh. Anyway, I was thinking that you should join my club, the one you were at yesterday. Man, it's so much nicer to ride with someone who isn't ignoring me. Yup, there are only a few girls in it. The only one who really shows up frequently is, well, she's kind of a bit catty. Oh god, don't tell me it's Cara. No. So you want me to join a club and deal with some other catty girl? I want you to give me company. You fit in great. Give it a try, please. In any case, if you're waiting for me to finish up every day, you might as well just join it instead of sitting around. Okay, that's a fair point. What is this club anyway? Paranormal Mysteries Club. I stared at her. The first thing that came to mind when I thought of paranormal were UFOs, phone psychics, and those cheesy websites with articles about Atlantis and dinosaurs living in the Amazon. Really? It's actually really fun. I eyed her skeptically. I wasn't sure if it was fun or if you were into that kind of thing, but I couldn't imagine her believing that stuff. So what? You research Bigfoot or something? Do ghost hunts? Look for aliens? Well, not exactly, but you'll find out if you stop by. I promise you have fun. Oh, those two guys you live next door to, Elliot and Danny, they're both in it. Seriously? I didn't think either of them would be into that sort of thing. I tried to imagine Danny getting excited over blurry videos of someone in an ape suit. Didn't compute. You'd be surprised. Just think about it, okay? It might not hurt to give it a try, I guess. Ellie let out her characteristic squeal of excitement. That's it. It would be really annoying if he wasn't so completely adorable. What? When we reached the school, Ellie went to help in the office. I decided to stop by my locker before going to the library to read for a while. It was definitely still pretty early. There was almost no one around as I opened my locker door to grab my trig and chemistry books. I really hoped that things would go more smoothly than the day before. Yesterday morning, I'd only been okay because the stories hadn't spread that far yet, but by now, everyone had heard them. I heard a soft sigh and turned around immediately, expecting to see someone behind me, waiting for me to get out of their way. There was no one there. I looked up and down the hall, but there was no one in sight. Okay, that was weird. I definitely heard something. Chewing my lip, I shut my locker door, still listening. Maybe it was a draft of some kind, but it really had sounded like a person. I shook my head and took a deep breath. It was probably just my imagination. I was on edge because of yesterday and last night. That was all. I headed for the school library. I wonder what sort of things they really do in the Paranormal Mysteries Club. Ellie said it was fun. When I got to the librarian was nowhere to be found, so I hid in a corner and read until the first bell rang. After that, I basically spent the morning thinking about Ellie's club. She had said Danny and Elliot were in it, but I didn't sit close enough to either of them in literature to ask about it. The only interesting thing about Trig was Corvin managing to fall into a knee-high wastebasket. Chemistry was boring. Everyone had quickly realized Spencer would not engage, which meant they directed all questions at me, so I told them I'd been kidnapped by Bigfoot and Elvis. I couldn't wait until their rumor got around the school, and I really hoped Kara enjoyed it. As soon as I reached the cafeteria, Danny ambushed me and insisted I have lunch with his group. Since he was better than eating alone, I didn't argue. Elliot was already waving at us from a table across the room, which made it even more impossible to say no. Danny led over me to where he and a few others were sitting. So, everyone, this is Cata Shane. I shifted uncomfortably as all eyes were suddenly on me. Oh, the new girl everyone's talking about? Well, she is new anyway. You sitting here today, Cata Shane? Yeah, looks like it. I was relieved that no one argued. They just moved their chairs around so I could sit sandwiched between Danny and Elliot. So, how do you do, Danny? I looked over at the girl talking. I had no idea what her name was, but she had a nice smile. Well, I moved in next door. Oh, so you're neighbors then? Yup. That's what moving in next door meant, pretty much. The boy who spoke leaned across the table and grinned. So all the things people are saying about you, are they true? James, come on, man. I was just asking. It's fine. And I've told everyone so far, no, most of the things being said or speculated are not true. I really did get lost in the woods. I really don't remember it. My brother really was attacked by what we think was probably a cougar or something while out looking for me. Yes, he injured one of his eyes. No, they're not sure how. It's actually nowhere near as mysterious as people try to make it out to be. It was just sensationalized at the time. All that happened was that I got lost and Spencer somehow hurt his eye. So you really didn't see a murder in the woods? Raina. I think that's about as likely as encountering Sasquatch. Maybe it was a serial killing Sasquatch. I liked her. Well, aliens are also a popular theory. Serial killing alien Sasquatch. Now that's just crazy talk. Everyone laughed, and I was just relieved the conversation didn't seem like it was going to be the usual interrogation. Oh, Elliot, man, I read about something yesterday that your club totally should investigate. Oh, Bat Squatch. Bat Squatch? You know, like giant bats. He gestured wildly as he started explaining the supposed creature to Elliot. I tuned him out and turned to Danny. So, I don't see Ellie anywhere. I didn't see her yesterday either. Do you know if she eats somewhere else? Ellie? Yeah, I don't think she eats in the cafeteria. Ah, I see. That was disappointing. I guess he meant I couldn't even have lunch with her. I wonder where she did eat. Maybe with the teachers or something? Though I couldn't imagine that would be fun. But even if she wasn't around, Danny's friends weren't too bad. They were rowdy, but really nice. I didn't usually like crowds much after yesterday. Oh shit. But after yesterday, it was a nice change of pace to be surrounded by friendly people. Speaking of the club, Ellie mentioned she invited you to join it. Oh yeah, well, I haven't made your mind up about it? Well, I mean, I glanced back at James dubiously as he tried to convince Ellie that Bat Squatch was a viable topic of study for the club. Do you really study things like that? Danny just laughed. No, not really. We do look into the paranormal, but I suppose a little more mainstream than Bat Squatch. Mainstream. Huh. I wonder if that was more along the lines of ghosts and ESP instead of UFOs and unlikely mammals. There are a lot of stories that have much more solid foundation beneath them than Bat Squatch. You don't think that maybe some folklore has a seed of truth to it? I guess it depends on the folklore. I mean, if you take something like the vampires of Europe, a lot of people think that certain historical figures might have inspired some of those tales with their less than savory behavior. But if you're suggesting that the seed of truth is supernatural in origin, I'm not sure about that. But it does make for a potentially interesting study topic, right? I suppose it might. If Ellie invited you, then you should consider taking her up on it. It might be nice to have a new member. No, seriously, would love to have a new member. Hey, that's not fair. I tried to join too, and your president kept avoiding me until I finally ended up joining something else. And now my schedule's too full. I thought you didn't join because the club room creeped you out. That's not it. I mean, it is kind of creepy though. I didn't even think the Mysteries Club accepted new members. Everyone I know thought about joining ended up not doing it. We take new members sometimes. I think people often just decide they don't have time for it. Now they're making me kind of curious. And then his description actually did sound kind of interesting. At the very least, he was different than what I'd first imagined. I mulled it over for the rest of lunch, wondering just what kind of club it really was. By the time school let out, I was actually in a pretty good mood. As a bonus, the day I'd only had a few mildly annoying moments as opposed to the whole thing basically sucking. I was relieved by that for sure. Ellie showed up at my class to get me, waiting by the door while I shoved all my stuff in my book bag. We made a quick pit stop to my locker before she insisted on taking me up to the 4th floor to see the club. So, did you make up your mind yet? I mean, about trying out the club? You will, right? Well, I mean, you're kind of hurting me that way regardless. Yup. It's not like you have anything else to do. That's true. I'll just take a peek, okay? Alright, I'm sure you like it. At the bottom of the stairs, I paused and looked up. I'd been to the 2nd and 3rd floor, but never the 4th. I'd heard it was just a bunch of empty classes. Even when I was here in middle school, everyone had said it was haunted. We started up together. Are all the high school clubs up on the 4th floor? No, there are only about 5 others beside us. A lot of people prefer to use classrooms on the lower floors. Apparently it's creepy up here. I have heard that. I stopped at the top of the stairs, shivering slightly as I looked down the long hallway. It looked just like the one downstairs, but I have to admit the atmosphere was different. Maybe it was because most of the lights were off, or maybe the air was just stuffy because no one really used the space much. It really did feel different though. Come on! Ellie took my arm and pulled me down the hall toward one of the open classrooms. I stopped outside and peered in. No one else was there. The club room itself looked pretty boring actually. I was surprised, especially after hearing how creepy people found it. Instead, it just looked like a really normal empty classroom. It wasn't creepy at all. It looks kind of mundane, right? Out of nowhere, Ellie practically shoved me through the door. And something happened. So, what do you think? What? It looks a lot bigger when you're inside it, doesn't it? I stared at her slack-jawed. She had the most infuriatingly smug look on her face. Bigger? Yeah, it looks bigger and completely different. Where did all this stuff come from? I looked at the hallway. It looked as normal as ever. But the classroom was now brimming with furniture and decorations that had definitely not been in there when I first looked in. I rubbed at my eyes, though I'm not sure what I expected what to do. Wait, what? Not sure what I expected that to do. Okay, got it. Was I dreaming? No, I obviously wasn't. But how? I shook my head and walked back out into the hall. It looks totally normal from out here and... Ellie? I couldn't see her anymore either. I burst back into the classroom and there she was again, along with all the decor and furniture. Whoa, I don't understand. What is going on? My head was spinning as I tried to work this out. Mirrors? Or something? It had to be mirrors or something, right? I knew you were one of us. She grabbed my hand and squeezed them, grinning at me happily. Whoa, back up. One of us what? A paranormal, or a cryptic. Some refer to as the supernaturals as well. Mark? You sound uncertain. Wait, had he been there the whole time? He was standing in the corner by a large bookshelf, a book in hand as he glared at me with the usual disdain. No. I know it's you, I just have no clue what's going on here. He shot Ellie a strange look and huffed an annoying sigh as he snapped the book shut. She's probably still awakening, but she's obviously one of us. She's here, right? If she wasn't one of us, she wouldn't be able to see the club room. I studied Ellie worriedly. Ellie, you're kind of starting to creep me out. Why do you keep saying one of us, like I've just been inducted into some sort of creepy cult? Also, paranormal? Cryptic? Okay, calm down. Take some deep breaths before your blood pressure gets dangerously high. I know this is confusing, but I can explain. Very amusing. I don't want to take deep breaths. I want to know what's going on. Okay, well, you're a logical person. Just put 2 and 2 together. Clearly, this isn't a normal classroom, right? Well, yeah. There are two possible ways to explain what you experience: science or magic, right? Science wasn't my forte for sure. Magic? I think I need to sit down. Ellie helped me to the nearest sofa, and Mark produced a glass of water from somewhere. For all I knew, he pulled it out of a hat. My head was spinning like crazy. Magic. Ellie was not trying to tell me that this was some kind of magic room, was she? Or even before that, was she trying to tell me that magic was real? Feeling better? Not really. Ellie just laughed. I glared at her. This was not a laughing matter. I was having a crisis. Are you telling me that magic is a thing? A real thing? A thing that actually exists in a real, practical way? Yes. And this room is magical. Yup. And I'm magical? Most likely. I stared at the door. I could see the hallway outside. It looked perfectly normal. There was nothing near the door that could explain what happened when I entered. No visible mirrors, cameras, or projectors. Heck, I couldn't even come up with a way it would be possible to do something like that with projectors and cameras. I took a deep breath and let it out slowly. At lunch, someone said that this club doesn't take new members much. This is a club specifically for the supernatural members of the student body. Obviously, normal humans can't be permitted to enter. Typical humans can't see this room, not as it is. As you notice, from the outside, it looks like a normal empty classroom. From the inside, it still looks like a normal empty classroom to normal people. In fact, the spell on this place actually repulses normal people, so they don't even want to enter it. A spell. Like a magic spell. Yup. Is this how Alice felt when she fell down the rabbit hole? Actually, I was pretty sure Alice handled that way better than I was handling this. I took a deep breath as I listened to Ali's explanation. The spell is designed to protect the club from discovery. It can alter memories, perception, or even the room's location if it needs to. All toward that end. I was still trying to get my hand around all this. I mean, logically, I knew none of this could be true. But here was Ali, someone I trusted and knew was down to earth, and she was telling me this was real. And maybe it was a prank, but I really didn't think Mark was the sort to play pranks. Based on our meeting the previous day, I was almost certain he didn't have a sense of humor, and Ellie wouldn't do something like this to me. Not today. I looked up at her and she patted my hand gently. So I can see this room because I'm not normal. Correct. What about you? Well, I'm a witch, the magic using kind. I tilted my head slightly. Oh. Okay. I actually hadn't expected that answer. Not sure what I did expect though. Okay. Let's assume for a moment that instead of thinking you're just insane, I believe you. How did you know I was, what'd you say? Cryptid. I mean, you invited me to the club this morning, so you already knew, right? Cryptic is the word you're looking for. We're not animals. Cryptids are creatures that can be proven with science, but cryptic is just a name some people adopted for us. It's shorter to say than paranormal or supernatural, so a lot of us go with it. Hey, unless there's a test on it, I'm not interested in vocabulary at the moment. Is she always sarcastic? Usually, it's worse when she's upset. It's sort of like a litmus you can use to tell how close she is to having a complete freakout. Ah, I see. I was right here. Jesus Christ, I can't read. I'm right here. And what I'm interested in is how you knew I was a cryptic, or at least why you thought I was. Blood pressure. Allie! Okay, calm down. The reason I knew was because of Corvin. Corvin? What does he have to do with it? Remember that book he dropped? Yeah, that weird creepy one? It wasn't just a book, it was a grimoire. Corvin was standing at the door as if he'd just come inside. Man, if this was a prank, they were really going all out. But at this point, I had a feeling that hoping it was just a prank was pointless. Mark's lack of funny bone aside, Ella didn't look like she was joking. And he's not creepy, by the way. Don't call someone's grimoire creepy. Hey, Cor. So, you were right about your friend? Well, you can see for yourself. Welcome to the Paranormal Mysteries Club. Cata Shane, right? As usual, it was pretty bubbly. He waved at me from across the room. Did you say it was a grimoire? Like a magic book? That's right. And normal people can't see it. So when you kindly wanted to pick it up for me, I knew you couldn't be a normal human. Thank you, by the way. That was nice of you. If I'm not normal, then what am I? A witch or something? And does this mean Spencer is magic too? Because I really don't think letting him have magic is a good plan. Who's Spencer? My brother, my very paranoid, emotionally delicate brother. While I was speaking, Corvin wandered over and sat on the table next to the sofa. and immediately overturned the glass of water Mark had given me. He jumped back up as a cascade of water ran down his pants and down the arm of the couch onto my lap. Sorry! I was still too shocked by the whole magic thing to even react. Sorry, I'm sorry. Sorry? He looked around, presumably for something to wipe up the water with. I just sat there, staring at my soaked jeans stumbling. Ellie, perhaps you could... Don't worry, I've got it. Annoying as that was, it should prove it to you, Shane. She flicked her hands toward me in a strange circular motion and chanted something under her breath. What? I felt an undeniable wave of warm air and looked out to find my clothes were completely dry, as was the sofa. I patted my hands over my legs in wonder. There was no sign that they had been soaked through only moments before. Whoa, that even dried my underwear. Creepy. Really, Ellie? Come on. His pants were still soaked all down to the front. Maybe if you learned to actually read the mood for a change. It wasn't on purpose. Help a guy out. Air magic really isn't my forte. Corvin made his best attempt at sad puffy eyes. Ellie sighed and rolled her eyes before repeating the hand gesture and chanting she had previously aimed at me. This time I saw something. It was kind of hard to describe. The air around Corvin seemed to ripple and the water was suddenly just gone. This isn't real, isn't it? Ellie turned back to me. I knew I was gawking up at her, but I couldn't help it. I mean, none of this was possible, except I was watching it happen. No mirrors, no tricks. This was the real thing. Oh my god. You're telling me that I can learn to do that kind of thing? Now that, we don't know. There are a lot of different types of cryptics, not all of which have inherent magic. We don't really know what type you are. There are many that are non-human. Wait, if I'm some kind of not human thing, what about my family? You're saying my parents have basically been lying to me all this time? Not necessarily. Someone can be a cryptic without their family knowing. For instance, if they were infected by something that changed them. Like zombies? No, like vampirism or lycanthropy. I'm not a vampire. Wait, vampire? No, you're almost certainly not a vampire. Hey, are you saying that in such a snotty way, mister? But infection isn't the only way for humans to acquire supernatural abilities. Aside from being born with innate magic, there are lots of reasons humans develop powers. Being descended from paranormal creatures is one reason, like having Fae or Elvish blood somewhere in your lineage. Elves. If you did, there's a good chance your parents wouldn't even know, depending how far back it was, and Fae blood can lie dormant for generations before rearing its head again. He was talking to me about elves. I gripped my forehead tightly. I could almost feel my brain being crushed under the weight of all this. What everyone is trying to get at is that there are lots of possibilities. If you've never demonstrated magic before, it's probably just developing right now, and probably for reasons similar to what Corvin just stated. So now you're telling me I'm not even human. I'm a fairy or something. Calm down, no one is saying that. We don't know anything for certain just yet. There are ways to find out though. Some of them just take time. I don't think I want to join this or be a part of this. I mean, suddenly being not even human, it just felt gross just thinking of the idea that I wasn't even what I thought I was my whole life. I didn't like it. I caught that look the three of them shared. What is it? It's just that you don't really get a choice. What? Just listen. If you think about it, logically, people like us can pose a huge threat to human society. If not because you have unusual abilities, then because by not keeping the secret, we could disrupt things. There are other reasons as well, but those are the primary ones. As you can imagine, there are organizations in place to govern people like us since normal law enforcement can't really do it. Organizations like government organizations that keep track of cryptics. So now that part of the reason this club exists is because we kind of help keep an eye on the cryptics in the school and town as a whole. You mean there's more than just, wait, Danny and Elliot are in this club. That's right. So they're also cryptics. And there are quite a few others. Once we discover someone new, we're obligated to report them and bring them into the club. The cryptic registration office lets students register through us because it's less stressful than having to go to the local agency. But people who don't cooperate with us have to deal with them directly. It's way better to deal with us. I mean, they're not dangerous or anything, but still, the agency is definitely full of weirdos. You don't want to meet them anytime soon. So I don't get a choice at all. Look, it sounds all scary, but it's not. Your world's about to become really amazing. And think about it this way. What happened to you and Spencer as kids may be connected to this. That wasn't entirely implausible, actually. Remember when we were little? You and Spencer used to always tell me about the things you saw out in the woods. We were just playing, though. Were you? I I ran my hand over my face, thinking about that. It was so long ago. My memories were understandably fuzzy. I remembered that Spencer and I had imaginary friends. Sometimes they would come and talk to me at night. And was it possible all of that was actually real? Then, when I vanished, when Spencer was attacked, the things it said back then. We can help you research that. Maybe find some answers. Maybe find a way to help Spencer and fix whatever broke there. You really think I could do that? Sure. If you learn about yourself, surely learn something about your twin as well. You said my family might not be cryptics, though. That's right. Cryptics have weird genetic quirks. Like I said, with certain types of lineage, it's possible that no one will have even the slightest affinity for magic or exhibit any cryptic traits for decades. Then it suddenly pops up again, in one person, in one generation, as strong as it was when it was first injected into the bloodline. That's why something like that might be more profitable. That's why something like that might be more probable for you than just spontaneously developing magic, though that does happen too, rarely. So that means it's just me. I'm the only one that's different. Not necessarily. You are twins after all. It's just that given his personality, we might want to approach him more cautiously. This is all way too much. I stood up and gave Allie a shaky smile. I think I need some fresh air. Or Shane. Just for a few minutes, please. I just can't absorb all this at once. I said around marking Corvin, heading for the door. The room felt like it was closing in around me. I had to get out of there and get back to reality for a few minutes. I could contemplate the implications of all this in a place that didn't make me feel like I'd been carted off by a tornado to some strange place and should expect singing munchkins to appear soon. I didn't even know where I was going. Just out. Just away from here. Someone stepped through the doorway just as I tried to leave. Can you please move? My words trailed off a terrified squeak when I looked up at the boy I was speaking to. He had no. My vision blurred and my entire field of vision narrowed in the empty space above his shoulders and the gaping hole where his neck should connect to his head. Stunned, I turned back to Allie, though I don't know what I intended to say. My airways constricted, and for a moment I forgot how to breathe. My knees started to go all wobbly, and I knew I was about to hit the floor. Cata, Shane! I think I'm going to pass out now. And with that, everything went black. Whew. Now this is interesting. As usually, guys, I'm gonna do one episode per chapter. So this episode ends here. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope that, this has been somewhat enjoyable. And I'll see you soon.